technically speaking, we haven't truly entered phase two of the banana zone yet. We've just picked up the banana again.
That's right. It'll be when Bitcoin breaks its new highs, which I think is probably next week, because we get to the top, we consolidate a bit, and then it goes, and then everything goes. And the banana zone really won't kick in the terms of the way that people think, where everybody's getting hilariously rich and all sorts of stuff, probably until Solana breaks all-time highs. Because that's people's biggest bag, really, is Solana. And that needs to happen. Then risk gets recycled out the curve, because people do simple maths, and everybody's going to do it. Oh, they start saying, okay, maybe Bitcoin goes to 300,000 this cycle, let's say. So therefore, it's got a 3x from here. And then they're like, oh, but Solana could do a 5x from here, and Sui could do a 10x from here. And before you know it, everybody rushes up the risk curve, because it's later in the cycle and they want to capture as much gains as possible.
After surging past the $100,000 mark last week, Bitcoin has fiercely battled to hold its ground above the six-figure threshold. Yet, while the king of crypto clings to its lofty valuation, its price action lacks the spark it once had, as revealed by last week's performance. The sluggishness and uncertainty in the Bitcoin market have been linked to intense selling pressure in the derivatives space. But here's the twist. Recent on-chain data suggests that Bitcoin still has plenty of room to soar higher. Raoul, CEO of Real Vision, sparked some excitement in his latest interview. We're on the brink of crypto's next monumental moment, but the true explosion hasn't even begun. While Bitcoin inches closer to its all-time high, we haven't entered the banana zone, that insane phase where gains explode and euphoria sweeps the market. According to Pal, the key to unlocking this madness? A definitive Bitcoin breakout. Once Bitcoin smashes its previous peak, the psychology of the market shifts, and capital starts rotating down the risk curve. First to major altcoins like Solana, then rippling through the entire ecosystem. Pal's cycle analysis predicts a powerful shift. Bitcoin's stability will ignite altcoin speculation, drawing in fresh capital and sparking an explosive rally. The market is on the edge of entering the banana zone, setting the stage for a massive rally. We will now bring you more clips from Raoul Pal's explosive interview to gain more insight. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and enable notifications for additional in-depth content. Thanks for joining us again. Enjoy the video.
What's funny to me is we've kind of proven that liquidity is 90% of the price movement of crypto and 97.5% of the NASDAQ. So it is the dominant macro factor, but people don't want to believe it. And because like global M2 leads by 3 months, what happened is in Q4, global liquidity was draining because the dollar went up and rates went up and etc. And so that has the knock-on effect in Q1. And then what everybody does is apply narrative in Q1. It's the tariffs, the world's f***ed, we're going through recession. It was nothing to do with that. It was just the liquidity. So it's kind of like, yeah, it was this easy. Now, what it will do, it will decouple at some point. And normally it decouples in the bull phase of the cycle and then the full bear phase, because that's when fear and greed take over. And like the FOMO part of it is when network adoption increases massively. And it starts breaking away from M2, which is why it only has a 90% correlation, not 100%. So I think we'll see that now. And it's just saying now is, if this continues to play out, it's just banana zone from now until July. And then we've had, we've got to think 3 months in advance. So what we've had is the dollar correcting the last couple of weeks, rates correcting. So we should see the market correct in August.
Yeah.
And maybe it's as simple as that. And that would be very consistent with previous cycles as well. Everyone's scratching their head saying, why has gold been doing so well and crypto hasn't? And I thought, I know there's going to be a simple answer to this. It's not going to be some complex thing. And in the last GMI, I figured out that all gold does is follow financial conditions, which lead. So it's kind of real time. And then crypto follows with a 3-month lag. So it's like, oh, I get it now. So gold is just representing the fact that financial conditions, and we define financial conditions as the dollar, rates, and oil. Those are the kind of big daddies of it. Once they start moving, gold moves. So gold has been correcting somewhat because they've started to correct. And so gold is actually leading this because it just is real-time financial conditions, while Bitcoin and crypto and NASDAQ is just lagged by 3 months. It's as simple as that. I'm like, I can't believe it. I
And
put out a
also
tweet at the actual peak of Bitcoin dominance and said, I think dominance has peaked. I think it has. It's the right point in the cycle. It's this part in the banana zone when it happens. It usually happens after this first correction. So if that's right, and let's say Bitcoin goes from 100K to 150K for easy maths, then if you look at the performance of the other tokens, you can kind of impute what happens is that Sui probably does 3x that. So Bitcoin dominance, generally when it falls, it is the start of the silly season. I mean, that's, obviously, I mean, by definition, it means that other tokens are outperforming Bitcoin. And if Bitcoin's going up, which we're still going up, then what we should see is that. So I think, we've had a little correction in Bitcoin dominance, went from 62 back to 63. It'll top out again and then move lower. And that next move, people will really start to see it. And I think that's the move when Bitcoin goes through all-time highs and everything else goes completely bananas. So here's the same kind of period in 2021. So it happened in Jan that time around.
Yeah.
That drop went from 70 something percent down to 38% in a few months.
That's crazy.
Right, that's alt season. We saw it here back in 2017, which I think is a very similar one. It started like in Feb 17. I mean, that went from 95 to 35.
Yeah.
What's interesting is Bitcoin dominance over time is falling. So the peaks are always less.
The lower highs.
The lows seem to be roughly equal, but it suggests to us that we should come somewhere back down here. And it happens fast. It happens in 2, 3, 4 months. I mean, my bet has been, as you know, has been sweet because it's outperformed everything.
Yeah.
It just keeps going up, correcting, going up, correcting, going up, correcting. So it does all the right things. It outperforms all of the time. And I don't see any reason why that's going to stop. I mean, people argue a lot about, low free float VC tokens. People don't understand a simple fact is that a low free float in a bull market goes up more. Anybody who's ever traded emerging markets knows this. And that's what happens. And in a bear market, they get killed more. It's as simple as that because you've got less available supply and a lot of demand because there's a lot of attention on Sui and other things like this. And so it tends to work really, really well. This is the Solana Sui chart. If I look at it on a weekly basis, it broke out of this basing pattern. It flagged, consolidated. My guess is the next move breaks through all of this. And so that tells us that Sui is still the fastest horse in the race.
Yeah.
ETH, different question, because I think it can play catch up. But if we look at this, it just looks like it's flagging here again. And the next move is again the move where we should see a dramatic outperformance of Sui versus Sol. And I really simplify everything because if we've got one dominant factor and the dominant factor being liquidity, therefore everything is correlated. So therefore, just do one chart against the other and choose the strongest asset without going too far out the risk curve. But basically, this is a flag pattern. When this goes, ETH has its next move up, wherever it goes to. That's a shocking chart if this plays out, because it will change everybody's narrative again about ETH. I still think ETH from here, could it outperform Solana? It's possible. It's possible. Just because what I think is coming is as the financial system comes, you don't get fired for building on ETH. My idea is ETH is Microsoft. I've never been to a bank, an insurance company, a large corporate that has Apple Macs. It's all on Microsoft. Why? Because it's an operating system that everybody can use, and you can hire people, fire people, bring in new people, and they don't have to learn something new. But if you were to build the entire financial system on Sui, everyone has to learn a move language. There's less number of developers. It's not had the Lindy effects that ETH has. Now, also the banks love a layer 2 because they feel like they've got control over certain things, but it still has the finality of settlement to the layer 1. So I think ETH is probably going to shock people going forwards. But, XRP looks like it will too, and so does Doge. So it's kind of like everything's correlated.
Yeah.
But if we can break that high, if we can break that, let's say 4,300 high, it's going to really explode. I think we do have an NFT season.
Yeah.
Somewhat different than the last. I think what we're seeing is a current bifurcation. One is Web3 consumer-based brands being built. And, we'll talk about what you guys are doing.
Yep.
But, that's Doodles, Pudgy Penguins, all of that, right? And that still seems to be capturing mind share. Then we've got the art side, which seems to be doing well. Then we've got the PFP side, which, there are a few projects that will survive. And Punks, going to the hands of Mickey Malko, who's a good friend of mine, is amazing news. I managed to get the head of the Sui Foundation over drinks one night in Dubai at 11 o'clock at night to get a punk. I said, the reality is you cannot be in the space and having been reasonably successful without owning a punk, right? It's a rite of passage. Yeah. And so, I think punks probably get to a floor price of $500,000 this cycle, just because there's a lot of OGs who haven't yet bought them.
Bitcoin's price has spent much of the week trapped below the $104,000 to $105,000 range, a level many analysts dub as a resistance zone. However, there's a controversial twist to this narrative. What if Bitcoin isn't stuck? What if it's simply consolidating within a bull flag, setting the stage for a massive breakout? According to Raoul, the sideways action we're witnessing could be the calm before the storm, with Bitcoin gearing up for the next leg of its bullish rally once it breaks above the trendline resistance. This so-called indecision phase is being misinterpreted by many. While the lack of buy volume is indeed a concern, it's more likely a result of market participants waiting for the right trigger to jump in. The explosive move from 74,400 to 105,900 was driven by huge liquidations and record spot Bitcoin ETF inflows, laying the foundation for this current cooldown. After a 40% recovery, a loss of upward momentum is to be expected. With the bulk of sell-side liquidity absorbed, some analysts speculate a sharp pullback to $100,000 or even $90,000 could be the catalyst for a final push upwards. Let's watch more clips from the interview.
I know we've talked about this in the past. I think Crypto Dick Butts is another one. You're either an OG and understand it or you don't. And there's only 5,600 of them there. They're 1 ETH, 1 ETH 25. I just do not see a world that these are not 10 ETH. Because they're so important to the space. Because you kind of know, right? Everybody's got a dick, but you're like, yeah, you get this space. It's like a mini punk.
Yeah.
So I do think we'll see PFP projects maintaining value, certain ones that have Lindy effects. And I think that's good too. I think what Xcopy has done is so amazing because he's got such a broad spread of assets that people can buy, from Max Payne and Friends as a PFP, which is cheap, through to the one of ones, and people can participate throughout his ecosystem. So I do think the art stuff continues as well. So, and then we're going to see somebody do something breakout, which is somewhere between I still think a hybrid idea behind memes and what NFTs actually use as technology. People aren't using NFT technology much yet. They're just using it still for pictures, but there's a lot I think will happen. So I think the NFT space is going to get interesting. And I think some of it will be on Solana. We've seen a bunch of stuff migrate across to Sui as well, because they're faster throughputs, so they're more like memes in that way. But we'll also see stuff accrue on ETH. So I think it's a broad mix. If we go back to the financial way of looking at it, if we think that chart of ETH might play out, which it breaks through the 4,300 level and then accelerates to 10K and beyond, right? So let's say ETH can triple from here or more, because if Bitcoin dominance is falling, and we think Bitcoin could go to 250 or 300, whatever the number, you choose your number, then ETH should outperform it. Money in ETH gets recycled into the ETH economy. So therefore the NFTs, even if they double, let's say ETH goes up 4x. If NFTs double, you might get an 8x on your trade. Okay, that's kind of interesting. Now, if you've got something like Meebs or Crypto Dick Butts that are 1 ETH, could they go to 5? Could they even go to 10 in a full, FOMO cycle? Yes. Okay, now you're talking some huge money. That's what people forget. And you and I have talked about this in the past. People forget about NFTs versus meme coins is NFTs have this multiplier effect.
Yeah.
They're a call option on that underlying chain. I've kind of raised this a lot on Twitter to try and see where the pulse is, and people hate NFTs. They don't understand them. They don't really get it, and that makes me very interested.
Yeah,
because there is a Lindy effect of what survived will survive and thrive. We know what the Lindy effect is. Like Xcopy is Lindy effect, Beeple is Lindy effect. A bunch of the generative art Lindy effect, and a bunch of these PFPs Lindy effects. So it's like I love that second cycle trade where they get jammed down, and you see what's got Lindy effect. Those things tend to wildly outperform. How I've done it over to justify how is like my big macro thesis is this space is a $3 trillion space today. I think it goes to $100 trillion in 10 years. That's just standard network adoption extrapolated out on the log chart. That's 97 trillion of wealth. That's the largest, fastest accumulation of wealth in all recorded history. It's the same. It's more. It's like 3x more than all of the Russian billionaires, all the Chinese billionaires, all of Silicon Valley wealth, and all the Wall Street billionaires added together times 3 or something stupid, right? All happening within a short period. Let's assume I'm an idiot and it goes to 50 trillion, not 100. 47 trillion is still bigger than all of that wealth. And wealth gets recycled into art in the end. So if you speak to a friend of mine, Tad Smith, who used to run Sotheby's, Tad said the average billionaire has like 4 or 5 houses. Beyond that, you can't buy anything. So what happens is the value of the art in their houses is 10x the value of their house. Because art is a store of value. It's exchangeable, it's transportable. It's actually a very, very good store of wealth. So I'm just thinking as a long-term bet, by 10 years, some of these X copies will have traded at $200 million. We will see record prices in art in this space.
Yeah.
Right. So there's a bunch of people experimenting with, yet again, token-based economies based around IP and stuff. You're doing it. You kind of backed into it the other way round. The others have done it the other way. Nobody's yet to get it right. But all of our thesis is somehow this should connect to an ecosystem in a way that works. So whether Doodles can pull it off, whether you guys pull it off, I don't know, but somebody's going to get there. We just don't know the mechanism to accrue value to the token in a way that does it, whether it's via buybacks or whether it's via opportunity sets or loyalty points or whatever. We keep creating these token economies and they keep failing because there's an airdrop, people then just dump it. There's no real use for the token and then it gets forgotten. So I don't even know why people do it most of the time, because the actual founding team don't retain much of it. The thing falls 90% afterwards.
And you have a liability.
What have you done? What have you done that's added any value? I love what you're doing, and I love that you're pushing it hard to try and do it, because somebody's going to get this right.
Yeah, somebody's going to get it right.
It's the same with the creator economy. It's the same with sports teams. It's the same with brands. Somebody's going to crack this, and the whole thing is going to fucking explode. Whether it's this cycle, we get the first look at it, then we get the Lindy effect, and then after that is the big one. But it's coming. I know it is. It's been part of my core thesis. So I love how you guys are experimenting. The Doodles one, does that work? I don't know, but they have. I caught up with Austin the other day. They have a lot of ideas of what they want to do to create true value from it. So it's not just a meme coin in itself. Meme coins is okay. I don't have an issue with it. But really, if somebody can figure out how to make an economy, then we've got something big, really big.
The market has entered that tense pause where every trader holds their breath. Bitcoin's tight consolidation beneath $105,000 isn't indecision, but rather the market gathering strength for its next major move. The formation of a textbook bull flag suggests Bitcoin is gearing up for its next leg higher, just as Raoul predicted when he noted liquidity cycles typically fuel crypto's most explosive moves. Beneath the surface, the real action unfolds. While retail traders nervously watch sideways price action, institutional players continue stacking Bitcoin through ETFs and corporate treasuries. On-chain metrics reveal the truth. Profit-taking remains well below historical cycle peaks, suggesting this is healthy consolidation rather than distribution. The liquidity backdrop confirms the bullish case, with improving monetary conditions setting the stage for risk assets to run. Critical levels loom ahead. The $90,000 zone stands as final support, a level where weak hands panic but smart money loads up. A clean break above $105,000 would confirm the bull flag's resolution, likely triggering a violent move higher. Meanwhile, altcoins wait patiently for their turn, poised to explode when Bitcoin dominance finally cracks. This is the market's gift to disciplined traders, a chance to position before the next surge. The technical setup, combined with improving macro conditions, suggests the path of least resistance remains decisively upward. When this consolidation breaks, the move could be rapid and relentless. The smart play is clear. Use this pause wisely. Weak hands see uncertainty. Strong hands see opportunity. The question isn't whether Bitcoin will make new highs, but whether you'll be positioned when it does. The pieces are in place. Now we wait for the market to make its move. As we wrap up, do you think we'll see the banana zone kick off in July, or is this consolidation lasting longer? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Share this video and hit the like button. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe.